Hello and welcome to Heroes World TGIF. Thank goodness it's Friday. It's Andre from Heroes World, and I'm joined, as always, my partner in crime, my wingman on this adventure that is the show. Jesse, how you doing?
Not bad. It's been quite a week this week, eh? We've had the bad and the ugly.
Yeah,
It's
we've had a ton of snow where we are, and there's a lot of people navigating going back to school, getting the kids back in physical classrooms. But this week has been an incredible week for geek news and all kinds of stuff. Listen, aside from that snowmageddon, this has been a great week for me with all these reveals. So let's just jump right to it. We've got a great show for you guys today. We're going to be talking about lots of things. We're going to talk about some TV shows coming up. The main man himself, I love him. It's the captain, Sir Patrick Stewart, dropping a new trailer for season 2 of Picard. We're also going to talk a little bit about one of my favorite games coming out, and that's just a couple weeks away, and that's for Horizon Zero Dawn sequel, and that's called Forbidden West. Got some great news about that game this week with two trailers, a trailer and a nice documentary about who's in there. But Jesse and I are going to save the best for last. We are going to preview the Moon Knight trailer and give you our thoughts. And in between all that, of course, we are going to talk comics, what we read this week, what we read last week, what we're loving, and what we're going to recommend to you. So, as always, if you're joining us, thank you for tuning in, and comment if we say something and you want more information. We'll try and get to you. Tell us what you like about what we're talking about or what you dislike. This is interactive. All right. So, Jesse, we got a wonderful slideshow. Let's get right to it. Let's talk Horizon Forbidden West. This is going to be one of PS5's biggest games, and I hope out there you guys have actually played the first one. Phenomenal game, probably in my top 10. Highly anticipating this one. I'm eagerly awaiting for it. And just yesterday, I think it was, a trailer came out giving me, shall we say, heart palpitations and flutters because one of my favorite actors has been revealed to be joining the cast, and that's none other than Canadian treasure Carrie-Anne Moss has joined the cast, and she's playing a new character called Tilda. Now, if you know Carrie-Anne Moss, you know she's a great actress. You know that she's been in The Matrix. She's been in lots of things, but she's also no stranger to video games. She's also played an amazing character in Mass Effect. She played the character of Aria T'Loak. And look at her. She's a consummate professional. Looks like she's working from home with this setup and doing the motion capture and voice. So that is most excellent. I absolutely loved her as Aria, and I can't wait to see what she brings to Horizon. It's already such a great game, and it is, I think, going to get better because not only is Carrie-Anne joining this ensemble of already great people, but another actress that I really, really love is joining, and that is none other than Angela Bassett. And she will be playing, we don't know who. I love her in her series 911 Lone Star. That's a picture of her there. But she is no stranger to video games as well. She did a really cool part. It was a little bit brief, but in the Rainbow Six. So again, these actors are bridging that gap, going into video games, bringing their gravitas to it. So I can't wait for those things. Lots of video game news to get excited about on the countdown for that game coming out, and it's coming out February 18th. So can't wait for that at all. Jesse, I know I
still
recommended
haven't played the
Horizon
first one.
Zero Dawn for you. Have you gotten around to playing it yet?
No, I still haven't played the first one. And now that you said, what, February 18th?
Yep, you're on a timeline now.
I got a crunch. I got to throw Guardians of the Galaxy out and plop in Horizon.
Yeah, no, you won't be disappointed. But listen, don't rush through it, guys. Like I said, if you haven't played it, it's a phenomenal game. It's just I want to say it's kind of like a masterpiece, and hopefully the second one does look absolutely incredible. They look like they are breaking the bounds for that. But speaking of breaking bounds, Jesse, some huge news dropped.
Yes.
Was it Tuesday? Like, talk
Yep.
about wow, like mind-blowing, almost $70 billion deal. I think they're toting it as like the largest video game acquisition, and that is Microsoft flexing their pocketbooks, their money,
Yeah.
their influence to acquire Activision and Blizzard. And here in our little graphic, we have got showing you basically what does this mean? What is Xbox, aka Microsoft, getting by picking up Activision? Well, they're getting Overwatch, and Overwatch 2 is in production, Diablo, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, Candy Crush, which is just a juggernaut, and StarCraft. These games will all become first party Microsoft games, and this is absolutely huge. The internet is just torn asunder with this. Lots of speculation, lots of talk. But let's break it down a little bit. We saw Microsoft do something similar, although the dollar amount was not nearly in this juggernaut colossal amount when they acquired Bethesda and ZeniMax, which brought to them Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Doom, like all of these IPs. And it became like, yeah, Microsoft's, branch of studios just got super legit. Now, an interesting fact was that Bethesda had some deals to put exclusive content and exclusive games on PlayStation, PS5, and Microsoft, of course, they honored that deal. A lot of people are thinking going forward, they're going to honor that same type of deal. I think anything that has already been signed on the dotted line, that's going to go over. You're still going to get those games on the PlayStation. However, just like the Bethesda deal with that new game, their new franchise, Starfield, and any of the Elder Scroll games going forward, I think it's going to be an Xbox and PC exclusive. It's going to be Game Pass. So existing Call of Duties, existing Diablos, existing, everything else is going to still function if you're a PlayStation player. But I would not hold your breath that you're going to be getting all that new stuff unless there's a deal reached to put Game Pass on other platforms, namely the PlayStation. Maybe there's talks a bit about it going on to the Switch. But Game Pass is just that. You can play. I'm a subscriber of Game Pass, and I can play it on my phone. I can play it on my tablet. I have it on my PC, on my laptop. So that could be the future, and Microsoft is basically paving that future. So huge acquisition, huge deal. It's not going to go through until, what did they say, Jesse, 2023? So they've obviously got to iron some stuff out. But wow, wasn't expecting it. I think maybe this is probably because Activision has had a rough couple of years. They've been dragged through just all kinds of stuff. And they, PR nightmare for the company. Stock drop. I don't know if Microsoft, bought it on the cheap, 70 billion cheap, but I do believe in Phil Spencer's vision. I think he wants to go up and clean up that house because Activision is responsible for so many games that people enjoy and still play. You cannot have that type of company running with that bad press and kind of that toxic environment. So I believe they will clean up that ship and stuff, and also continue to make amazing games.
Yeah, I think they said earlier today, Microsoft did a press release. They said they're going to honor all Call of Duty agreements that have been signed already, but going forward, the future is unknown.
Yep.
So do you think this is the end of the PlayStation? Do you think it's the end of Sony? What do you think is going to happen?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's the end of it, but I think this is a nail in that coffin. This is a big move. It's what it does is it basically makes Game Pass and an Xbox console or a PC way more attractive if somebody is already a PlayStation user. Myself, I'm a gamer through and through. I'll buy consoles for exclusives, but there's some people that ride or die with one console. But if now all of a sudden, if you're a Call of Duty player and you won't be able to play the newest Call of Duty, how do you not either get a PC or be like, hey, how can I not just buy an Xbox and then get all of these other games? The catalog for Game Pass is super impressive, and they've done a bang up job. Like, I wasn't a believer in it. I'm a physical media guy. But I have Game Pass because there's like, you get to try so many different games that you wouldn't necessarily play and stuff like that. It's a really cool service, and I don't even use probably a tenth of it, to be honest with you, but it's phenomenal. So I don't think Sony's gonna die. I think they're still the second largest video game company even after this merger. But what I think will happen is they have to be able to carve out a new audience. Like, I think one of PlayStation's biggest, what they like to puff out their chest about is that they've got all these great exclusive games, and you buy your PlayStation for exclusives. The problem is those exclusives are all very similar, and I don't know a single gamer that literally just buys all their exclusives. People will pick and choose. If you're into like the Uncharted and you're into the like the Horizon and the God of War, you might not be the person picking up Gran Turismo. So unlike Nintendo, where most Nintendo fans will buy every one of those Nintendos, they're in for the Zelda, the Mario, they're in for Metroid, all of that stuff when it comes out. I think Sony's going to have to breed that into its consumer base, or they're going to have to try and pick up a merger on their own to keep people there. And I think it'll just be a win for Microsoft because that library now is so huge. Again, like how can you, I know you're a PlayStation guy, but how can you look past potentially saying, hey, let me go and buy this Xbox and just get Game Pass?
Yeah,
and like
that's true.
Like, that's all those Halos that you might not have played since your 360 days, and now all of Doom and all these RPGs and stuff like that. It's just too sweet a deal to pass up. So I think Sony's, I don't want to say use the word retaliate, but they have to do something. They have to announce something or bring something to the table, because this is a power play. Who, I would never have predicted it, but wow, like to me, I look at Activision, I'm like Activision's like EA. Who can buy EA? They're a juggernaut. They make so much money, and stuff like that. Why would but wow, I'm kind of excited to see what that future holds and stuff. But yeah, just a crazy day.
I'm gonna predict the future a little bit here and say I think Apple is going to go ahead and buy Sony and/or the PlayStation rights and just start pumping out the consoles through the Apple, because they have got a loyal clientele already, right? Everybody buys the new iPhones, the new iPads. I think for Sony, or sorry, not Sony, the PlayStation to survive, they're going to have a backer like Apple, maybe even Disney, if Disney wants to get into the console wars. But right now, I would say that the console wars that have been going on for 20 years now, it looks like Microsoft is going to take the win.
Yeah, well, they've been in second place for so long, and they're just clawing their way up. So, but I do really like that idea that you're saying about Apple. It's not that far out there, but you take those customers that are brand loyal to Apple, and then all of a sudden, cross them with the PlayStation. You can literally breed a whole new, group of diehard fans. So that could be, super, super cool. So yeah, interesting time to be a gamer, and the next couple of years are just going to be, monumental for gaming. So yeah, let's follow that story as it progresses, and we'll see if Jesse's prediction comes true. But speaking of dreams coming true, today, as I mentioned, Patrick Stewart, Jean-Luc Picard himself, on his Twitter, put up the new trailer for Picard Season 2. And I got to tell you, Picard Season 1, for me, I wasn't expecting that show, didn't know what I wanted out of that show, but boy, did I absolutely adore that show. It wasn't perfect, but it gave me everything that I kind of wanted to see in Jean-Luc's character, seeing those next gen characters, Riker, Deanna Troy, Seven of Nine, seeing them come back, super. I really liked it and was absolutely looking forward to season 2. And now it's just less than a month away, March the 3rd. So it's our first look, and this is kind of like a little poster that we've got here. But this right here is why I am just absolutely excited. This is Whoopi Goldberg, and she is reprising her role as Guinan. And if you're a fan of Next Generation, maybe you remember their relationship. If you haven't watched Next Generation, I do recommend it. I think it's on Netflix. And yes, there is a lot of episodes and a lot of seasons, but check out the ones with Guinan. Guinan is basically a long-lived alien species. She's wise, and she's a confidant and ear to Jean-Luc Picard, the captain, and always gives him, things to chew over and think of things in a different way and stuff. And she's such a great character. And I remember Patrick Stewart going on her show, The View, to personally ask her if she would reprise her role as Guinan and on the Picard. And wow, it's just moving. The trailer dropped today, and it also revealed John DeLance as the Ignamic Q. Q is another long-lived species, kind of like, if we're going to use some comic terminology, he's kind of like the Beyonder. This is an all-powerful guy. So him coming back to basically, I don't want to say mess, but just, I guess, mess or play around with Picard is going to be all those episodes were super fantastic. He looked super serious. The trailer was wow, oh my god, it was super cool. Lots of images going fast, lots of things happening in it. It's I'm excited for this show. I don't know if you're much of a Star Trek fan, Jesse, but this Star Trek fan is super excited about this show's return. And I like that it's kind of bite-sized pieces. It's like an 8-episode thing, so you're not in for a whole season of 22 episodes. Although I will say, for season 1, I did want more. I did feel it could have used another couple of episodes or whatever, but I'm gonna take what I can of Patrick Stewart, because one of the best characters in sci-fi. So absolutely love it.
Wow. No, I'm not I've never really watched The Next Generation from start to end. I was still young when it was on TV. What was it, early 90s, mid 90s?
Yep. Late 80s and early 90s, yeah.
The one I really liked was, I don't know if I'm going to get pitchforked at my house, but Enterprise. I really enjoyed Enterprise with Scott Bakula. I don't know, something about that one. That was my first Star Trek, and it really...
No, that's the cool thing about Star Trek. Like it's got this thing where there's every generation kind of has its Trek, and that's the cool thing. And I like for me, that like the old dog that I am, I haven't gotten into any of the newer Star Trek, so I'm glad there's this for me, so we can all have something to kind of continue our enjoyment of Star Trek with. So I'm really looking forward to that coming out. So lots of great stuff happening in the world, but also lots of great stuff happening at the store. So we got in a really crazy cool action figure, high-end collectible. So let's bring back our segment, Lights, Camera, and Action Figure. And this week, we got a couple brand new figures from Hot Toys. And I'm going to spotlight this one because this character is super popular. And this is the Spider-Gwen from the Enter the Spider-Verse movie. So this is a 1/6 scale figure brought to us by the wonderful folks at Hot Toys. And in this shot, you can see all the accessories that she comes with, including Spider-Ham himself. So what's really cool about this figure, you notice all those accessories, all those different hands, the different eyes that will magnetize to the mask and the head, and the cloth hoodie or hood from the hoodie actually goes over. So a really cool figure, and they have captured the likeness of the animated Gwen Stacy. We're going to see that in the next couple of shots. There's a really cool posability here, and the accessories. You also do get that plastic webbing. But yeah, just look at the face sculpt. This is really, really cool. And it's super detailed, super nice. So if you are a fan of this character, like a lot of people are, definitely don't snooze on this, because these figures, while expensive, they don't last. And the Miles Morales of this line is selling really, really well. And I think the Gwen Stacy, of course, will too.
How many of the Into the Spider-Verse characters have they done already? Just Miles and I guess Spider-Gwen?
Yep,
Have they?
Miles and Spider-Gwen, and then they've got a future Miles version coming out. And of course, we do know that there is a sequel coming out to that. So I'm pretty sure we are going to see some of the other characters done. Especially, I think we're going to see possibly the most famous, or not famous, but a lot of people really like the Shadow Spider-Man. What was it called?
Spider-Man Noir?
Spider-Man Noir, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that would be a very, very interesting one. So yeah, so that is just one of the hot toys that we got in this week. We also got a couple other Avengers in there. We got a battle damage Thanos as well as Thor. So yeah, definitely if you're into the hot toys, you want to hop into the store and check them out. But speaking of the store, we love our comics, and we're going to change things up a little bit. Our first segment, we're going to go back in time, and we're going to start off with last week in comics. We're going to go back in time to talk about some of the comics last week that came out that we finally had a chance to read and catch up on. And now we want to basically tell you all about what is good. And this particular segment is sponsored by the wonderful Chip Zdarsky. Pick your Chip, and Chip is a Canadian local writer. He, I think, lives in the GTA, and this is just a few of the books that he is done or is doing. Literally, the man has about 4 or 5 titles on the shelf right now. And I'm going to talk about one that I read last week, and that is the limited series Daredevil, Woman Without Fear. What? Woman Without Fear? Daredevil's a man, you say? Well, if you can see by this image, and if you have been following the Daredevil series, you know that Elektra has donned the red and black garb of Daredevil, and she has made a pact with Matt to put away her murderous ways. And that's why you see her size are kind of blunted and stuff. So this story follows during the time of the Devil's Reign, in which Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, is no longer the kingpin of crime. He has gone legit. He is the mayor of New York, and he's putting the screws to costume heroes. He's basically outlawing them and using villains as government agents to rein them in. Elektra is torn because she's like, this guy's a monster. I gut monsters. I kill monsters. This should be easy. I'm not like these other heroes who have morals and stuff. I should just do it. But again, she's made a promise to Matt Murdock, and she's not going to do it. Great first issue. If you don't know anything or you don't know much about the character of Elektra, it basically starts with her present and works in her past, talking about how she was trained, what her relationship is with Stick, how she got introduced into the Hand, and where she is today. Beautifully drawn book, really good first issue, and it fits really well with Devil's Reign. However, you can just read it on its own. So I do highly recommend this book. It's only going to be 3 issues. Chip Zdarsky is really cementing himself as a good kind of crime writer. This guy writes street level stuff really well. Well, he can write anything, but his work on Daredevil has been really good. I know you really enjoyed his Newburn, which is a crime book, and of course he's well known for his series Sex Criminals from Image years ago. So yeah, he's really writing some good stuff, and this is one that I would highly recommend.
Every time we talk about Chip Zdarsky, I think of the one shot of the crossover he did Did we talk about this, or I can't
We
remember,
did
but
talk a little bit about it. Yes.
the crossover has him. So crossovers is about comic books crossing over into the real world. So comic book Chip Zdarsky from what was his first one? Safe Sex? Is that what it's called?
Which one?
The Safe Sex? Was that what it was called?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
Sex Criminals.
Sex Criminal. Sorry.
Yep.
So he drew himself in one of the panels. So Chip Zdarsky from that series came over into the crossover series, and the whole crossovers thing. Somebody's killing the authors of comic books. So Chip Zdarsky, real life Chip Zdarsky, was worried that comic book Chip Zdarsky was going to kill him, and it was just funny. And at the end, they spooned in bed together for some reason. I don't know. I guess it's
Chip Zdarsky.
it's meta. He loves himself, I guess.
Yeah.
But when you were talking about Chip Zdarsky, that's all I was thinking of, him spooning himself in the. There you go. That's the thumbnail for this segment. Chip Zdarsky spooning himself.
Yeah. So really cool. Imaginative writer, and he's also got a really imaginative book. I know that you're following, Jesse, and it also came out last week. Stillwater, and I think they're on issue 12. Was it issue 12 that came out?
Yes. Question for you: How would you feel if you could live forever and not die? Would it be pleasant? Would it be hard on you? Would you like it? Would you hate it?
If I could live forever without maybe pain and stuff like that, but if I had to live forever and be pain, if there was a no strings attached, live forever, possibly.
So
There's lots to learn.
Stillwater, yes, you live forever, but you do still feel pain. You still kind of die, but you come back. So like a regenerative thing, you see this cover here, he's getting lit on fire, so you would feel the fire burning you, but you would come back to life.
Ooh.
So Stillwater, what is it? It's the town where you never die, and that's not a promise, that's a curse. Yikes. So Stillwater, this is number 12. As I was reading it, I kind of got really sad because it's the last one, so I won't really spoil much, but I'll give backstory. So Daniel, the main character there, is gone back to Stillwater. He was born there, but his mother shipped him out when he was young so he could go live a full life. And then somebody called him back to the town of Stillwater, and he didn't know who, he didn't know why, but he showed up. There was a message on his phone, I believe. It said, "Come to this address. I got something to tell you about your family." So an orphan that's never known his family is going to go pursue who his family is. So he gets to this town, and in the first little book, the first issue, he sees a kid jump off a roof of a building and just splat, and then get up and run away. And he's like, what is going on? So Stillwater is about living forever, but when you live forever, there's obviously going to be people who corrupt the system, right? So there was a mayor before who didn't want anybody to leave the town. You were on lockdown, you live in the town, you can live forever, but you can't leave the town border. No matter what you did, you can't leave the town border. He didn't want a secret to get out that his town is the fountain of youth, you never die. But with that came a lot of problems. People would leave the town, give birth to a baby, and then bring the baby back. The baby would mentally grow older, but physically it would still be a baby. So the baby would know what was going on. The baby would be intelligent like you or I, but stuck in a baby form, right? So that's where the whole horror aspect comes in. They got rid of that mayor, and then two people took over. It's a army general and actually, I've got a photo of him here. The kid on the right side. The kid became the new mayor, but that's weird because he's a kid, but he's actually 100 years old. He's just trapped as a kid.
Wow.
So these two guys are the big shots in town, and Daniel, our main character, wants to break free with his family, go live a happy life, make it up to the individual whether they want to stay in town or leave. And these two guys don't want it to happen, so they come up with a plan to get rid of the two bad guys. And I'll leave it at that. Pick up the I think issue 12 volume 2 I think comes out in February for
in trade. February, yeah, the trade paperback will be there. So yeah, but it's definitely a roller coaster of a series. It does a lot of interesting things. and stuff. And it's definitely not what you think when you're reading this book. So it's definitely pretty cool.
I did say it was the end of the book, but there is a one-shot coming out, I think March 9th. It's called Stillwater the Escape.
Yep.
And the promo image is Daniel, our main character, and the kid on the right by a campfire. I don't know what's going to happen there, but I think they're just going to take a little hiatus and come back with a 6-issue mini
nice.
arc and finish off the story, because it left on kind of a cliffhanger. Don't know what's going to happen.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yes.
So lots of Chip Zdarsky this week, and we have yet another Chip Zdarsky. But this book is our Heroes World pick of the week for our comic book spotlight. It's by DC Comics. It's called Batman the Knight, and it's the story of Batman's origin. And it's brought to us by Chip Zdarsky. And oh my goodness, I'm not going to be able to pronounce his name, but it is Di Giandomenico. Sorry about that, pronouncing it wrong. But this book is damn stellar. It is looking at a young Bruce Wayne after the murder of his parents. And this is him as an adolescent, trying to channel and funnel all the emotions that go with losing your parents. There's the anger, there's the sadness, there's the nightmares. And, you know, right off the bat, I think this is a pretty cool book because Chip is, you know, digging through the past and bringing up some interesting characters, and none other than Hugo Strange shows up as a potential psychiatrist for a young Bruce Wayne and stuff. And that was a very, very cool moment. But also Chip is also changing and kind of modernizing this take on Batman. Every, you know, I got to say probably 10, 15 years, somebody changes or adds to this mythos and stuff. And of course, with fight clubs being super popular, we see that Bruce Wayne uses his fisticuffs to try and vent his anger and learn more fighting. But this was a really interesting scene. I don't know if this was one of your favorite scenes here too, as well, Jesse. But basically, a young Bruce is getting into trouble at school, and he's lashing out, you know, with his fists. And Alfred basically brings him back to Wayne Manor, and he's like, I've removed all the books. Now you are going to read books, and we're going to refill this library, and you're going to learn to solve your problems a different way.
Yeah.
So we have Alfred being that mentor and trying to guide him down a different path, but also sparking with him that love of knowledge, which will turn Bruce into the master detective and crime fighter that we know. So really, really cool moment in there. I think that was my favorite moment of that book. But yeah, it's really well written. The art, as you can see, is excellent. What about you, Jesse? What was your favorite part of this particular issue?
I did like when Alfred took Bruce Wayne back to his library, and like you said, the Waynes they have an appetite for knowledge, and their only way to satisfy that is to read books. That's how they find their solution. So Bruce Wayne has a huge task ahead of him. He's getting into trouble in school, right? Like he's not getting into trouble. He's defending a kid who's being bullied, right? And after Alfred said that whole book thing, I think Bruce took it to heart, and he's started reading a book on botany. And in the next panel there, you see what was his name? I think it was Mitch. Mitch has to go home because his towel was rubbed with poison ivy, and he can't stop itching. It was just very clever, right? Like a little botany book, and then all of a sudden, Mitch has gotten poison ivy all over him. I miss Alfred.
Me too, man.
Alfred's the hero in this book. Like, there's one scene where he's driving the car, and Bruce Wayne is acting like a little spoiled brat, and he pulls over the car, and he just has a breakdown. He's like, I tried, I failed you, please. Just stop doing what you're doing. You're not a criminal. Stop acting like a criminal. And I think that's what leads Bruce into therapy with Hugo Strange. I think he takes it to heart.
Yep.
Yeah, just great book. I can't believe how much I miss Alfred. And
Yeah.
there's this new character right here. Diana, is that her name? Is she new? Have you heard of her
Dana.
before? Dana.
Yeah, I think he's a new love interest for a young Bruce Wayne there, and I think that's one of the things that every time that we see or this story changes, there's somebody else. In Batman: Mask of the Phantasm, it was a Miss Beaumont. In Batman Year One, they tried to say it was somebody else. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But they all have this kind of link and connection, and Dana's she wants the best for Bruce, but she can already sense that he's got this darkness and this drive. And in this particular scene here, this was also a pretty funny one. Bruce is like, she asks him, well, where are you going to go to school? We're off to college and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, I'm going to go to Gotham University. And she's like, you can go anywhere. What are you going to do? He's like, oh, I want to stay here and help the city, and I want to be a cop. And she's like, you a cop? He's like, you don't take orders from anybody. You don't play nice with people. You're too driven to be a cop. She's like, Gotham doesn't need another cop. She says it needs somebody to think bigger. So again, it goes to what we were saying and Jesse was saying about, yeah, he's got to think beyond his kind of means. Like he's too focused on that particular problem at this point. But speaking of that, like there's some really cool stuff. Like look at this scene here with him, hands all bandaged up, getting ready to fight, and he's taking on a big guy and stuff. So yeah, so we got some of that really visceral combat in this, even though we haven't. There's no Batman in this first issue, so this is strictly going to be a series of Bruce Wayne, I think, building up to becoming the Knight, becoming Batman. It's a 10-part series by DC. It's going to come out monthly. And so far off to a great start. So
you've seen the television show Warriors, right?
Yes.
Does that guy in the bottom right corner there remind you of what was his name? The police constable Bill? Was it Bill?
Yeah, it kind of
he's got the mutton chops and everything. It just and there was a lot of fighting rings in that show. It just reminded me of the whole Warriors show.
Warriors, yeah, that was a cool show. And yeah, like that's the thing. Like, I think so many things are capitalizing on that kind of Fight Club. Like remember the most recent Jason Bourne movie, just called Bourne, and that first scene he's like bandaged up and takes down the guy. But that's really great in this comic because it shows that Bruce is just like, he's not a smart fighter yet. Like he gets hammered, right? But he gets back up. Like this guy got cocky and thought he took the kid out in one hit. And yeah, he just, he's tenacious. He's just, he's coming back for it. So yeah, cool book. Definitely guys, you want to pick that one up and don't miss out, because Chip Zdarsky, fantastic writer, writes a whole bunch of, he's very versatile. And like I said, between Daredevil and now Batman, I think this guy, he's onto something. I think he's finding that wheelhouse. And he's doing a great job on it. But speaking on a great job, next up we've got a fun book from Marvel, and it brings us our green-skinned lawyer, Jennifer Walters, the incredible, the sensational She-Hulk. First issue is out, and wow, I gotta say, bravo to the creative team. This book and the character, She-Hulk has got a cool past in that her comics are usually kind of funny, a little bit fourth wallish and stuff like that. John Byrne did an amazing run. That center cover by the artist Stanley Lau Art Germ is an homage to the sensational She-Hulk by Byrne and stuff. And this issue actually, it stuck it for me. It really was able to deliver on multiple levels. So first off, we've got She-Hulk, and we see her, and she's in her human form. She's a lawyer, but she's like, it starts off with her kind of monologuing. She's like, I really thought my life would be different. I would really be somewhere, but I don't have my own firm. I don't have a steady job. I don't have an apartment. She's like, heck, all I've got is the clothes on my back. And she's like, it's not enough to just be an Avenger. And as she's just trying to get to her new job, she runs into an old villain, an old adversary that's just like, hey, let's scrap. I'm in the mood to fight. And she's like, really? Why do we have to do this? Why are we doing this? Can't we change the rules of the game? So of course they are going to fight. And there's this really funny moment because Jennifer is like, can you give me a second? And she starts changing, and she's like, and she's like, what are you doing? She's like, I can't fight you in this because this is all the clothes I have. This is my only business suit. And she's like, what are you going to do? Fight me in your underwear? And then she's like, I fought in a lot less. So it was just this really funny moment. And the two of them scrap, but it's cool because as they're fighting, they get this little dialogue, and they're like, she's like, yeah, sometimes I've got to blow off steam and I can really go to town fighting you. I don't have to hold back. And they're like, they both talking. They're like, it's fun. And then Jennifer's like, well, wait a minute. She's like, well, why do we have to fight? Like, why do I have to arrest you and you go to jail? She's like, don't you have a house? Don't you have a family? Why do you want to be incarcerated? And at the end, they're like, okay, so here's my number. Let's meet at a parking lot and just fight. And then they're like, yeah, that kind of makes sense, And yeah, so it's just got this, of course, there's the gratuitous fight that we're seeing here and stuff like that. But there's another layer, and they managed to inject some humor and some real life into it. Just a cool start to this book. So I hope they can keep up this level of balance in the book, because I think it'll really be a winner, and hopefully it'll give people a look behind that character, so when the Disney Plus show comes out, they will be able to relate to her somewhat. So yeah, definitely, guys, pick this book up. It's a lot of fun. The art's great. It's colorful, and it does have some real life moments that I think all of us will be able to relate to.
Question for you: if you could pick one Spider-Man to be your Spider-Man, who would it be? There's Peter Parker, there's Miles Morales, there's Miguel O'Hare. Is that his name?
Yep.
Spider-Man
That's Spider-Man 2099.
There's Otto Octavius, and there's Ben Reilly. Who would you pick to be? Who is the best Spider-Man in your opinion? Put you on the spot right now.
Who's the best Spider-Man? The one and only Peter Parker Spider-Man. What can I say? I grew up with this guy. He's gonna, he's the main arachnid kid.
He's your boy? Well,
he's your boy. What about you?
Mine?
Don't tell me Otto Octavius, because I'll have to boot you out of the stream. Better choose somebody else.
Okay, Miguel. No, I do like Otto Octavius because his story was just so compelling when he was the Superior Spider-Man. He swapped bodies with Peter Parker, and then he had to be Spider-Man, so he always tried to be better. And his struggles with being a supervillain, but now he's got to be a superhero. It was just something that I really enjoyed, and
it was a well-written series, but yes. I didn't like him, and he did do a lot of things better than Spider-Man, but
yes,
he can't replace Peter. Nobody can.
Yes, but guess what? In my opinion, Ben Reilly is pretty damn close to replacing Peter Parker.
He is pretty cool.
He is, and I have a confession to make. I don't really know who Ben Reilly is. I never read any of the stuff Ben Reilly's been in, except the new Amazing Spider-Man run. I know he's the clone of Peter Parker. I got that knowledge from the Amazing Spider-Man TV show in the 90s.
Yeah.
But I never knew who Ben Reilly was, except the clone of Peter Parker.
Well, that's who he is. Like he was the clone, and then he had to basically create and fill in a life for himself, right? So yeah.
There are so many parallels between Ben Reilly and Peter Parker. Like Ben Reilly's a down on his luck barista, I believe, barista, not bartender. He works at a coffee joint, and he serves coffee to people, and he listens to their problems. One geeky guy comes in this panel here, and he's like, I like old movies, and no one likes old movies. And he's like, well, I like old movies. He's like, what? You like old movies? Look at you. You like old movies. But he seems more heartfelt than Peter Parker, if that makes sense in this story. We see him. I don't know if this is an Elseworld story, if it's a different universe, but he's taking over for Peter Parker because Peter Parker left with MJ to Portland. Is that main continuity, or is that a different?
I think this would have been part in the past where when Mary Jane and Peter were married, they did move, and I think this was around the time where Mary Jane was supposed to be pregnant or something. But this was definitely, I remember this time. So it's not current continuity. It's not taking place today, because right now Ben Reilly is in the Amazing Spider-Man, and he's the endorsed Spider-Man of the Beyond Corporation.
But it is our universe, right?
It is, yes. It's the same universe. It's not a multiverse thing. Yeah.
Interesting, because they mentioned that Mary Jane is pregnant with a baby.
Yeah.
So what happened to that baby? I don't know. But anyways,
wow, that was quite a story. But we'll save that for another day.
Got to get caught up on my Spider-Man lore.
Yeah.
But Ben Reilly, he just seems more heartfelt. He's taken over for Peter Parker. Peter Parker's in Portland. He's like, don't worry, I'll cover New York City. Well, you enjoy life. You deserve it. If anybody deserves it, it's you, Peter Parker. So he becomes the new Spider-Man. He meets Spider-Man's rogues. There's a Scorpion there. We don't get to see him tussle with Scorpion, but we do get to see a little image of Scorpion. There is one character we see, Carry-On?
Yep.
Does he sound familiar?
Yep.
So he's called to a scene where he's got to fight this Carry-On character, Malcolm, right? That's his real name. So he's fighting Malcolm, and he does something I've never seen a Spider-Man do. And that's what I like about this character. He takes a different approach to the situation. He's punching him, and then he says, wait a minute. And I won't go into any more detail, but after this one issue, I think I like this Ben Reilly series more than the main Amazing Spider-Man series.
Wow! After one issue, that's
after one issue.
Praise, because I know you do like your Amazing Spider-Man, so that's cool.
Yes. This issue is very. It's got a lot of heart, and there's a scene where he goes to Ravencroft, and he's asking about the villains. He's like, I want to know what's going on. Do they? Are you guys just shoving pills down their throats saying behave, or like, how does their therapy work? It's just interesting. It seems like his trauma of being a clone and not having anywhere to fit in life is making him a more heartfelt Spider-Man.
Yeah, and of course you mentioned it, when he fights Spider-Man's rogues, a lot of times this is his first time fighting them, so he doesn't know what to expect. So he comes up with different ways. So yeah, he was a very used a lot of ingenuity. You know, he had different ways to use his webbing. He had like impact webbing and web darts and stuff like that. So you've got a lot to look forward to in this particular series. If you do like Ben Reilly, you're going to see a lot of cool things with it. And I'll remind me the next time we're at the store, I'll show you some of Ben Reilly's other books, because I
was going to ask you, what is the best Ben Reilly story in your opinion?
Oh man,
if he's my favorite Spider-Man now, and I'm pushing Peter Parker out the door, what is the best story to read? I know the Clone Saga is.
I've got a soft spot for the Spider-Man Backlash crossover. It was a two-part series with Marvel and Image, and it was a Ben Reilly Spider-Man in that. That was a pretty cool series. Loved the art by Brett Booth. You probably know him from the guy who was doing Flash for a little bit. So I think you'd probably like that one. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And I think they also did a Ben Reilly Batman and the Spider-Man crossover too. So I'll see if I still have that as well. So lots of cool Ben Reilly stuff. But yeah, he was Spider-Man for a little while during that Portland time and stuff. So it was pretty cool.
And the Man of the Week. The trailer came out earlier this week. The issue came out on Wednesday.
Was it Monday? I think it was Monday, wasn't it? Monday night? Super
Yes,
Bowl, not
Monday
Super
night.
Bowl, but it was some type of sporting event it was tied to. Yeah. So we have got, I think this week, Jesse, you enjoyed Moon Knight #7, another Canadian. This is Jed McKay writing it. And this book has been on fire.
Yeah.
Like, it's had multiple printings for the first, I think, 3 issues. The story is just crazy. What did you like about this particular issue, Jesse?
Did you read it?
I have not read it. We sold out of, I think it was issue 4 and just got a reorder in. So I have to read 4, 5, 6, and 7.
So I don't know the spoilers. Are you okay with spoilers?
I'm okay with it. Yeah, you got to tell the people why they need to be reading Moon Knight.
Moon Knight. Okay. So Moon Knight has opened up a little what do you call borough? It's his territory in New York. Nobody can do anything in his borough. There's vampires running around, which he's cool with. If anybody wants to do anything, they got to go to Mr. Knight, right? Mr. Knight, not Mr.
Yep.
Knight. Mr. Knight, which we see here. And you got to ask Mr. Knight's permission. If you have a problem, you go to Mr. Knight and you say, hey, Mr. Knight, these guys are bullying me. They're trying to kill me because I'm a vampire. And Mr. Knight will take care of them as Moon Knight. So he's kind of like the middleman between the Moon Knight we know with the cape and the people. So he's got his borough, his little center base, his base of operations, and one of his friends says, this guy's trying to kill me, he's a vampire, he's turning people, yada yada yada. It turns out he was just trying to lure Moon Knight out. He's Zodiac. Is he a character you're familiar with?
Yep.
Zodiac. So he's been playing Moon Knight from the get-go, and they have a little battle royale, punching, fighting. Zodiac blows up his base of operations to smithereens, and Moon Knight looks up at him and says, "You know, if you kill me, I'll come back and I'll make your life even worse." And Zodiac looks him dead in the eyes and says, "I'm not trying to kill you. I'm trying to break you." Right? A few issues back, I think it was issue 2, there was a new Moon Knight introduced. If Moon Knight's Khonshu's right hand, then this guy, what was his name? You remember his name, perchance?
I do not, but I remember that was a pretty mean-looking dude.
Hunter Moon. Hunter Moon's his name. He's Khonshu's left hand. So they kind of got to work together to find this big bad Zodiac guy, and they don't like each other, but they're brothers, so they got to get the job done. So Moon Knight, if you go back a little bit, he's at the bar with no name. He sits down. He tells the villains, "I'm no Spider-Man. I'm no Punisher. I'm going to make your life hell if you don't answer the questions I have. And the only question I have is one word, Zodiac. What can you tell me?" Everybody doesn't know except 8-Ball we just saw there. So he goes and acts all Batman-like, hangs him up and drops him from the rafters and says, "Where's Zodiac? I don't know. Where's Zodiac?" Yada, yada, yada. Long story short, he tells Moon Knight where Zodiac is and what he's planning and where to find him. He goes to the base and finds a dead body. So Zodiac's one step ahead of Moon Knight. One thing I really like about this series is if you look at Moon Knight really closely, he kind of glows. Now, I think that's a artist choice. He's wearing white. He doesn't actually glow, but Moon Knight's thing is he wears white because he wants you to see him coming, right? So he's white here, so he's brighter than everything else. Yeah. So he stands out from everything. I just really like that little hidden detail. At the end of the book, we have a little revelation that Black Panther's been spying on Moon Knight this whole time. And when I was first reading this book, doesn't that kind of look like a Batman image?
It kind of does.
And he's like, tell me about Moon Knight to his secret informant. And long story short, he's been spying on him ever since, what was the arc called from the Avengers?
Oh, the Avengers, yeah, where where Moon Knight basically
destroys all of them.
Yeah, he takes all their powers and stuff, right? Yeah. So that was a cool one.
So it all feels so connected, and stuff that happened in a different book is happening in Moon Knight, and just a really good story. And a lot of people like to compare Moon Knight to Batman, so I think they kind of put this in as a little joke, because the next image kind of reminds me of the Joker. No,
Well, there's the green hair, the white face, yeah.
just the way he's sitting in a chair all casual, Zodiac sitting in a chair all casual. It really reminds me of the Joker. So it seems like they're playing into the whole Moon Knight's Marvel's Batman.
Well, if Batman had multiple personalities and believed that a god was powering him, so yeah, it's pretty cool. Moon Knight, love the character. I've been a long time fan since he first came out. So that's why it's very interesting that Disney.
Who's your favorite identity? Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite version of Moon Knight? Who's your favorite personality? Let's say.
Oh, personality. I like the Mark Spector. You know, I like the former mercenary turned suave playboy with his pilot friend Frenchie, and having Marlene, the shall we say, kind of a partner in crime, supporter, and stuff like that. I always like that kind of. You've got the combination of, like you said, like a little bit of the Batman, but you've got a little bit of like a James Bond-esque espionage, gadget using guy. So that was my favorite one. And I think, to me, he tends to be the strongest and has like the most I would say well-known of the Rogues Gallery. However, when Warren Ellis did create Mr. Knight persona, I thought that was a very, very cool evolution of the character. So yeah, again, I do really like him with the cape and the cowl and stuff like that, but the Mr. Knight persona is pretty cool. But let's play this trailer for everybody, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we think is going on, because Disney Plus has just released its first trailer of Moon Knight, coming I think in March, and we've got none other than Oscar Isaacs, who is playing. Is it Isaac or Isaacs with an S? I think it's an
Oscar Isaac.
Yeah, there's no S. Oscar Isaac is in the starring role. So let's see if we can get this rolling.
Hello, and welcome to Staying Awake.
I have a sleeping disorder. I can't tell the difference between my waking life and dreams.
Hello, and welcome to Staying Awake.
I think I'm losing it.
We'll catch you on. You're bloody useless, Stevie.
Stephen. I can't tell the difference between life and dreams.
Thank you.
Lost the contact lens.
Hope you find it.
Thanks. Yeah.
Oh my God, you're alive. What's wrong with you, Mark?
Why did you call me Mark? It must be very difficult. The voice in your head. Shut up! There's chaos in you. Embrace the chaos.
Hey, what did you think?
Woo! Well, that's my second or third time watching it. Lots of things to digest in the trailer. All right, Jesse, as you are newer to Moon Knight, what did you think of this?
I liked it. I see where they're going. We saw Steve. He's more of
Stephen
the
Grant.
Stephen Grant. He's more of the smart guy, the little money guy, the guy that finances everything, right? Persona. Um, I think they're putting an accent on him so they can distinguish which character or which persona we're seeing, because it might get a little confusing if we just see Oscar Isaac talking like this and then all of a sudden he's talking like, if he just switches, it might be confusing for the audience. So the accent I get, right? It's kind of like in comic books where you have italics when they're talking, or different word bubbles.
Definitely.
It's an interesting choice that they showed us Stephen Grant first and not Mark Spector, who is the original identity, or
Yep.
even Jack. That would have been interesting in New York with his taxi cab, just honking the horn, yelling at people. That would have been interesting. But Stephen's a bold choice to start the whole trailer, or start the previews.
I think the trailer is interesting. My only gripe about the trailer is that it's kind of you know, reminding me or hitting the same notes that kind of like WandaVision did and stuff like that. You know, you don't know what's real and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm not in the mood for another Disney Marvel, mind job, because I find they don't write those ones enjoyable enough for me per se. I would rather than kind of get into the thick of it. I was really hoping that this would have been kind of like the Disney Marvels, almost like Punisher type of thing, like a straightforward action fest. Let's show his backstory, let's show his origins, let's show something really cool. But it seems like, but again, it's just in this initial trailer, they just seem like they're going for something different. But I think you're right; they're definitely going to play up the different personas, and each persona is going to have a different accent. And Oscar is a talented actor. I will say, since we didn't really we saw that one scene where he's over top of somebody punching, but we don't see any physicality. I would have cast my dream casting for this would have been none other than Matt Damon. We saw him play a really tough guy in Bourne. And then we also saw him, if you ever saw him in the movie Green Zone, he could handle the weapon. So really thought he could do both of those parts. When I look at Oscar Isaac, I don't see an ass kicker, and Moon Knight's a mercenary brawler, so hopefully
that's the thing with Moon Knight, though. If we have an ass kicker, like, you can't cast John Cena as a nerd, right? It just doesn't work because he's so big. Oscar Isaac, I don't know. He was. Did you ever watch the movie Drive with Ryan Gosling?
Yep.
He was very good in that one. Like, he can act for sure. I'm just.
Oh no, definitely he's an actor. I'm not taking away from that, but I'm just saying from my kind of perspective. Now we don't, like I said, we don't get to see too much of it here. I think they really played on the insomnia and the confusion. But yeah, maybe that's going to play more. But I said, I just hope it's not too much of that kind of psychological type of stuff. I'm down for an action fest. So hopefully we get that. I will say, though, if I could just interrupt you before, I know you got a thought there, Jesse. I thought it was interesting that they ended with the phone call and kind of gave it away. But I guess since we know the character and we know the name and we're expecting the name, I was surprised. It's definitely Marlene on the other end of that phone call and saying, "Mark, where are you? I finally found you." It's like, why'd you call me Mark? So it would have been, I think, if they were going to play that as a, shall we say, mystery, I think they should have tried to keep the mystery. But they played that card right away. They played it early.
So we saw Ethan Hawke, right? Ethan Hawke. Yep. Has he been announced who he's playing, or is it still a mystery? And who do you think he's playing?
I would assume they probably announced it. It's like, I'm sure we could find out on IMDb or wherever, but
he's got something going with him because everybody's bowing down to him. Maybe Mephisto. Maybe he's back. Maybe we'll go crazy about Mephisto.
That would be hilarious. They keep who's Mephisto? It's going to be Mephisto. Yeah, that's kind of funny.
And one more side point before we go. We've got the Black Knight, we have Blade being introduced. Now we have Moon Knight. That's the Midnight Suns, right? We need a few more players, and then we got the Midnight Suns.
Yeah.
So is it going to be a movie or is it going to be a TV series? What do you think?
Well, hey, there's a video game coming out, so you never know. They could do that, right? So that's pretty cool. But yeah, hopefully you guys out there enjoyed that trailer, and hopefully you're looking forward to Disney's new show. And yeah, listen, hit us up in the comments. What are you reading? What are you watching? What are you enjoying? Are you excited about this Microsoft takeover, or is it bad news in your opinion? We want to hear from you. As always, thank you for tuning in, and continue to check us out. Heroes World online. That is where you're going to find us. All kinds of content. And remember, please, if you can, like, subscribe, tell a friend, help us spread the word.